spectacular, over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
It's a time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
It's likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later rounds.
Joe Rogan bursts out laughing while reacting with Anthony Joshua to Jake Paul's knockout loss, saying the fight was a mismatch from the very beginning. He explains that Jake is used to facing retired boxers or MMA fighters, not a real, active Olympic-level heavyweight. Rogan points out that Joshua isn't just elite, he's competing in a completely different weight class, far beyond Jake's natural size. From a true boxing standpoint, Rogan says the ending was predictable before the opening bell, and the knockout only confirmed what everyone already knew.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the head.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua delivered a powerful post-fight message, saying the knockout actually spared Jake Paul. He explained that if the bout had gone on, he would have systematically worn Jake down, both mentally and physically. According to Joshua, the early finish stopped the fight from turning into something far more damaging inside the ring.
Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct.
The idea of Anthony Joshua being linked to a so-called circus fight with Jake Paul has instantly split opinion across the boxing world. Many view it as pure spectacle rather than a legitimate sporting contest, with the gap in size, experience, and pedigree impossible to overlook. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist, while Jake Paul is still developing as a boxer. To critics, the matchup feels designed for attention and numbers, not real competition. That sentiment only grew stronger after Joshua knocked Jake out and broke his jaw, prompting Simon Jordan to slam the event as a blow to boxing's credibility.
Industry, because straight after the fight, I had the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again and he's going to fight possibly February, March. And then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about.
He argues that these kinds of matchups blur the line between genuine sport and pure spectacle, pulling focus away from meaningful competition. Jordan stresses that Joshua has already secured generational wealth and a lasting legacy, leaving him with no need for novelty fights. Even if a showdown with Tyson Fury never materializes, Jordan says Joshua is financially set, making a decision to walk away from the sport entirely far from surprising.
Earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, frankly, it didn't go to points because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? and that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what we seeing?
Exactly that. You know, and I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment. And that was pretty much it, but not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a demolition.
Joe Rogan praises Anthony Joshua by pointing to his speed, athleticism, and crushing power. He notes that Joshua moves like a much lighter fighter despite being a heavyweight and possesses true one-punch knockout ability that can end a fight in an instant. Rogan describes him as a nightmare matchup because of how fast he closes distance and finishes exchanges, adding that these qualities make it completely unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with him at a serious level.
But this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is terrifying.
Nightmares are made up.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch.
Adam Booth delivers a brutally honest analysis, pointing out that Jake Paul did manage to make Anthony Joshua miss at times, something he considers noteworthy. Booth says Jake's movement and positioning showed clear improvement in discipline, forcing Joshua to reset instead of landing at will. While he's clear this doesn't mean Jake was ever winning, Booth acknowledges that creating even brief hesitation against an elite heavyweight is a significant sign of progress. Continuing his breakdown, Booth adds that making a fighter like Joshua miss isn't accidental, it takes preparation, timing, and confidence. He credits Jake's footwork and his ability to stay composed under pressure, but stresses that none of this changes the bigger picture. Once Joshua found his opening, his class, power, and experience ultimately decided the fight.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, AJ should just go in there 1 round and smash him to bits, and that should be it was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult, no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
In the aftermath, attention turns to Logan Paul, who appears to confront Anthony Joshua and talk about revenge for his brother, even hinting at a possible fight. Analysts quickly shut down the idea, calling it an even bigger mismatch than Jake's bout. They point out that Jake trains full-time with professional boxing coaches, while Logan lacks the same level of dedication and technical development, making a Joshua matchup completely one-sided. Further discussion reinforces the view that Logan pursuing a fight with Joshua would move beyond spectacle into outright farce. Analysts argue that, despite the loss, Jake has at least shown he belongs in professional boxing at a basic level. Logan, by contrast, is seen as far less polished and less serious, with consensus that such a fight would offer nothing competitive and would only fuel criticism about the direction of boxing.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing or has trained with real boxing trainers and real boxers. Whereas Logan Paul, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some 2 pieces with no size, right? But at the same time, You take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse because I think Logan, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake, it took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't going to do that. Logan's going to come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, do all this stuff. And what's going to happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's going to hit Jake and he's going to break Jake down.
Subhashano Mali analyzes the aftermath by focusing on Jake Paul's mindset heading into the fight. He says Jake's trash talk and confidence were widely misunderstood by critics, explaining that this attitude was necessary for him to mentally prepare to face a 2-time Olympic champion. According to Mali, belief and self-talk are crucial when stepping into the ring against overwhelming odds. Even if the result doesn't go your way, Mali adds that without that mental edge, Jake wouldn't have been able to perform at all under such intense pressure. He argues that the criticism overlooks how difficult it is to share the ring with a fighter of Anthony Joshua's caliber. While the loss was decisive, Mali believes Jake's approach showed respect for the challenge and highlighted the immense psychological demands of facing an elite heavyweight.
Jake was shooting double legs too.
Shooting double legs, nice
duck
one,
unders,
ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, people, I see so many people talking shit on the fight. Which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like Jake hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. So, dude, that's self belief. He needed that going. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million, $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said he's running the track star. Aljamain said this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like
Tim had to do 7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that's the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like the next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything.
Teddy Atlas explains that his prediction of the fight lasting several rounds was rooted in real boxing factors, not any notion that it was fixed or staged. He points to Anthony Joshua's long layoff, the knockout loss in his previous bout, and the mental hesitation that can follow such setbacks. Atlas says those doubts take time to shake off, especially for a fighter who isn't a fast starter. He also notes that the larger ring gave Jake Paul more space to move and survive early on. Atlas believes Jake entered the fight with a serious game plan built around movement and endurance. But as the pressure mounted, the margin for survival disappeared. According to Atlas, Jake reached a level he had never faced before, both mentally and physically. The mix of Joshua's relentless pressure, Jake's muscular build leading to quicker fatigue, and the demands of elite competition ultimately caused Jake to gas out. Atlas firmly maintains the fight was genuine and decided purely by boxing realities.
Rounds. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that will spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why I said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say, that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the fact is that a lot of people didn't think about 15 months off. And there was going to be some ruts. There was going to be some hesitation. There was going to be some you get knocked out by the bar. Freaking 15 months ago, there were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you're fighting. You get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those goals. The ruts. You won't call ruts, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the ruts. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out, that was going to be at play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 to 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around, right? I thought maybe go in there with track